Minister, what did you tell the caucus?
We had a really good discussion.
But behind closed doors, one source says discussions were tense and candid.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to our American listeners, or as we in Canada like to call it, Thursday. I kid, it's a joke. It's a joke. Hope you're enjoying your time off, eating your turkey, having your stuffing, enjoying life on the southern side of the border. Hope life is good for you down there, enjoying some good old time, watching some football. However, we got some stuff to talk about on the Canadian side of the border because, well, guess what? We're Canadian. Bye-bye. We talked about the strife and the inward turmoil going on in the Liberal Party. Well, that's actually increasing. We're going to be talking about that. CBC is sort of touching on it and sort of covering it, trying to smooth it up a bit. But hey, there's some real stuff going on behind closed doors. We'll be talking on that as well as Mark Carney is getting in trouble with the private industry. Steel makers, softwood lumber are just like, Mark Carney, where you at? We're dying over here. And man, the pressure is mounting and we're going to get into all of it, unfortunately. Welcome to the Elevate Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. If you get any value from today's episode, take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us to grow. It helps us to get to new audiences and helps people see that there is something different than what the mainstream media has to offer. And now let's get into our first story, shall we? As I said, there is rumblings inside the Liberal caucus all around this pipeline MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. This has been a very fascinating situation, if I'm being very honest with you. As I said, from Carney, from a personal perspective, this pipeline doesn't serve him and he'd rather this thing not go and he'd rather give veto powers to BC and First Nation. That's what he'd prefer to do. However, him even going this distance is upsetting his caucus because they think he's giving the green light to a pipeline, a dirty, dirty oil pipeline. And then you have the Conservatives on the other side of the aisle who are advocating for their constituents saying, please build this thing now, screw the MOU, put a start date on this, and let's get it going, baby. Build, baby, build. That is all the outside forces kind of caving in and crushing Carney right now. He's trying to make everyone happy, and in the process, he's upsetting everybody. And so with that being the case, he takes this MOU to this cabinet meeting yesterday, and it didn't necessarily, from what the reports are, it was a very tenuous meeting. It didn't go very well for Mark Carney, and this was a CBC report on that very issue.
Tomorrow, Mark Carney is expected to announce a new agreement with Alberta that includes a framework for a pipeline to BC, but the plan has put the Liberal caucus at odds. Kate McKenna shows us the work being done now to get everyone on board.
The Prime Minister walking into a meeting to reassure Liberal MPs about a potential pipeline deal alongside his Environment Minister.
We're not backtracking on the environment, and we ran a campaign on getting big things done. We'll wait till to see what the announcement is tomorrow.
On Thursday, Mark Carney is set to announce a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with Alberta, set to include language about a potential pipeline through British Columbia. What are your thoughts on this MOU? Any thoughts?
No, not yet.
Earlier Wednesday morning, there was a special briefing for the 20 BC Liberals in the caucus.
I haven't seen the MOU.
The man behind that pitch was Mark Carney's trusted energy minister. Minister, what did you tell the caucus?
We had a really good discussion.
But behind closed doors, one source says discussions were tense and candid. Publicly, Liberals showed a united front.
If we're talking about prosperity for the country, we all have to be united on all of these decisions.
There was a lot of information that was provided, and I think Canadians will be pleased.
Are you going to stay in caucus?
Questions, too, for former Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault. Sources say he's been in talks with the Prime Minister's office over his concerns about the government's compromises on environmental policies. Sources say, as of now, Guilbeault plans to stay in his job.
I'm blessed to be a member of a fantastic caucus.
The Prime Minister downplayed questions about caucus unity, saying the Alberta deal is about more than a pipeline.
It's about building this economy. It's about making Canada more independent. And it's about making Canada more sustainable.
Mark Carney is expected to sign the deal with Alberta Premier Danielle Smith on Thursday morning. Then the full details will be released. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Ottawa.
So, as we've been seeing Mark Carney been doing since he got into office, he's only been trying to make everyone feel good, trying to please everybody, by not pleasing everybody, simply trying to buy himself time to get deals done that are going to benefit him, essentially, is what we are seeing currently. And right now, he's starting to tick, everybody off. He's ticking off his caucus. He's ticking off his cabinet. He's ticking off the Conservatives. He's ticking off Albertans. And he's ticking off British Columbians. He's ticking off premiers. He's getting everyone mad at him because he's just doing half measures. And that's the problem, especially in politics today, is you just got to take a stand on something and you're going to have to defend it. That's just the reality. And it's going to have to be one side or the other, specifically in how politics works nowadays. And he's trying his so best to just do half measures. Maybe I can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We'll see how that goes. And now everyone just like, you know what? Screw you. That's what we are currently watching with this caucus, this cabinet, and as well as voters in general at this point. Because we also, as I said, Pierre Poilievre is putting incessant pressure on Mr. Mark Carney to do his job as a prime minister. He said this simple question from Mark Carney in Calgary today: will he block the pipeline to the Pacific by granting David Eby an unconstitutional veto, or will he get out of the way and let the pipeline be built? Again, as I said, Carney's not leading. He has every right to just have this pipeline built because it is in the nation's interest. He doesn't need to get the premier's perspective on this. He doesn't. He can just build it if he'd like. But he's hiding behind cooperational federalism. That's kind of what he's trying to focus on. He's like, that's the messaging. But not a lot of people are buying it. As I said, in politics nowadays, especially with what we are facing in the face of tariffs from the United States right now, we need to get things built so that we can start making revenues and start being a country again. That's kind of what we need to have happen. And the fact he just keeps making up excuses of why roadblock after roadblock after roadblock are going to be appearing in front of this and it never actually getting done. And then at the same time, as he's trying to placate and act as if he wants this pipeline to happen, his whole caucus is like, you know what? Screw you, man. Screw you. That is what we are currently witnessing. And they're just over it. And 8 people on their way out with massive by-elections to follow if that so happens. So it's like, okay, what's going to happen here, folks? What is going to happen? Well, again, he's upsetting everybody. If he just took a stance on this and just said, you know what? Yes, it's going to hurt my Brookfield portfolio, but I do sincerely believe if Carney went and got this done, his approval rating would increase. Because if we remember from October's polling from Angus Reid, we have 56% of PC respondents supporting a pipeline being built. Over half the province saying, please, we need this built. We're done playing in fairy tale land like we have over the past several decades here in BC. We know money isn't grown by the hippie movement. We actually need real results here because we are suffering and we're witnessing the suffering happening. Here's the thing. People can get tunnel vision on specific issues. Pipeline. All right, let's focus on the pipeline. How are we going to get to northern BC? That has been the debate. However, all this is connected to everything in our economy right now. A pipeline is just an aspect of it, of helping kind of bolster our economy these days. And in light of that, it's just been a losing couple of weeks for Mark Carney. A couple of weeks, actually, it's been a loser week for Mark Carney. This all started Sunday when he said, who cares about the negotiations with Donald Trump. That's where a lot of this is really starting. And now we have an announcement coming this morning in a couple hours. It'll probably come out as this episode is coming out of like, all right, what's going to be in this MOU? What's the announcement going to look like? Who is he going to tick off next? Because he's ticked off steel workers because he hasn't shown a huge amount of tenacity and urgency to get a deal done with Donald Trump and get a little bit of tariff relief for the workers. You have the softwood lumber is getting ticked off because of the same issues. You have these core industries to our country who are just like, we're losing workers. We're laying off people. We're struggling over here. Can we do something here? Can we do something? Who cares? That's been the response. And he apologized in the House of Commons for it, but we all know anytime he's been pushed by any journalist on any of these issues, he gets mad, he gets upset, and he gets annoyed. He doesn't care about you, and it's starting to come through more as more pressure gets applied on him. You had this story done by CBC covering a business in the steel sector, covering the softwood lumber sector, being like, TikTok, we need some help.
To transport Canadian steel and lumber across this country by cutting freight rates.
This announcement comes after controversy over Carney's reaction to CBC News, asking when he last spoke to Trump.
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail.
That comment didn't sit well with Robert Mandel, whose steel company has had to lay off about 130 people since Trump's tariffs hit.
It struck me as being very tone deaf, being insensitive to the plight that not just the industry, but the employees in the industry.
His company makes steel pipes and tubes, including those used in the retractable roof at the Rogers Centre in Toronto. He's been calling on Carney to level the playing field for months.
It's an improvement, without question, over what they had initially agreed to do. We would still say we need more relief.
The forestry sector says more funding is welcome.
The focus now needs to be on execution, and that's the piece we'll be holding the government to account for.
Journalists again questioning Carney about his contact with the president.
This is the kind of thing I didn't want to get drawn into.
The prime minister says he doesn't want to talk about every little exchange, but confirmed he was in touch with Trump in the last 24 hours.
My exchange with the president yesterday was not newsworthy. I just responded to a question, wasn't newsworthy.
Carney says that
anytime he gets pressed on anything, he gets so snappy, doesn't he? And you have the representative from the forestry sector there saying, "Hey, we need something getting done." You had the man who runs a steel company in Ontario being like, "Whoa, what's happening here, folks? What's going on?" And now the press is asking about it and pressing him on these issues. Mr. Mark Carney, they're pressing on. And he's just like, I'm telling you, there's nothing going on. There's nothing substantial going on. Who cares? This is where he currently goes. That is his natural programming, is just to get frustrated and snappy, which doesn't look good. So you have the pressure, some pressure actually being applied to him by the press. You have pressure being applied to him by people in these sectors who are in areas that are voted for him. Then you also now have the pipeline issue, BC being mad at you, Alberta being mad at you. The Conservatives applying incredible pressure on him. You had Pierre Poilievre, who posted this, says, Prime Minister, since you took office, softwood lumber tariffs have tripled, shuttering logging towns. Conservatives have now forced an emergency Commons debate tonight on it. I'm challenging you to debate me on softwood lumber tonight in the House. Your schedule is free and you're in Ottawa. Debate me tonight, unless you don't care. He's running this into the ground as he should, to let people know that this man simply doesn't care. And so showing how everyone is mad at him, people can make the argument of, well, this shows he's doing the right thing. It's because everyone's mad at him. It's like, nah, everyone's mad at him because he's not doing anything. Half measures. He hasn't had a very principled, integral stance on anything. If he had just taken a stance on something, someone would be happy. But everybody is mad at him. And this is how he won the election, right? He just gave half measures and then ran with elbows up, elbows up, elbows up, gave faint ideas of what he's going to do. So just gave enough to please everybody, and then elbows up, elbows up, elbows up. And that's how you won an election. Now, the problem is being half measured as in a situation where you paint it as a crisis is not really sitting well with people, and they're getting very irritated. And so as this irritation is building, we've seen the Liberals try to push forward stories like this. The Nokia story, where they break ground on a new campus in Ottawa. And this is what was very fascinating. We saw Evan Solomon bring this up in the House of Commons to deflect from Michael Barrett bringing up the issue of Brookfield and Carney being very close in terms of everything, something gets signed, Brookfield gets a benefit and Carney gets rich. He brought that up in the House of Commons. Who do you benefit? Are you going to sell off your Brookfield shares? That'd be nice. Evan Solomon pointed to this story, right? And again, on the surface, wow, this looks great. Breaking ground on a new Nokia campus. This is awesome. And this is the thing, folks. The CEO of Shopify came out and spoke about this. And he hit the nail on the head. And the thing with Shopify is it's the gold standard for Canadian success stories in the tech sector. And they have a very heavy voice and heavy say on a lot of things that are happening in Ottawa, especially since Shopify is based out of Ottawa. And he had this to say. It says, what you are actually doing here is to bribe Nokia to put these jobs into Canada by paying hundreds of thousands of dollars per job from taxpayer money. What this does is to lower the cost basis of Nokia per employee. This has been going on for decades, called FDI, which all civil servants think is a good thing. I spent a lot of time explaining to civil servants in Ottawa that it's not good for our economy that American and overseas branch offices can employ Canadians at half the cost to all the Canadian companies around them due to these subsidies. We should not do them at all. They are toxic, at least in the tech sector. It was never meant to be this way, but the situation that very often arises is it's strictly worse inside of Canada to be a Canadian company compared to a company headquartered everywhere else, as we've seen with Brookfield. This is a bad situation because the fruits of the subsidized labor will accrue to the wealth of other countries and not Canada. It's taxpayer money invested into locking up scarce high-tech talent and jobs where they no longer contribute to the Canadian economy directly. Why? That has been the response from this government from the get-go. Like, we're bleeding jobs, and the jobs that did stay are due to government subsidy. We saw this with the Honda plant right after the election, where they said, we are going to be stopping the manufacturing of a specific car model and we're moving that to south of the border. Then Anita Anand hopped on a flight, went over to Ontario to have that discussion with the CEO, and all of a sudden an announcement came out saying, actually, we're going to stick around, which we know Anita Anand had promised likely more subsidies to Honda to stay. This is how you're keeping our country afloat. You saw it in the news clippings there with the steel owner and as well as the representative from the softwood lumber industry saying, we need more money from the government. We need more subsidies. Everything is being put on life support by taxpayer. A lot of our core industries are being put on life support by taxpayer money right now. And then to get wins, they shell out more taxpayer money to secure jobs here. That is not how a functioning capitalist society works. Sorry. This is how a falling socialist society operates. And that's what we're witnessing. So we will see this morning, later this morning, it will be kind of closer to the afternoon for those on the east, this announcement of the MOU pipeline. What's going to happen? And that's what we're going to be covering this afternoon. It will be very fascinating to see how this all transpires and the fallout of whatever that announcement ends up being. But anyways, enjoy your morning. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out.
Need some